Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from Free State, Colorado, and I hope you're doing well. The special session has been a total waste of money. It has been an attempt by the Democratic majority to steal more of our money, circumvent the taxpayers' Bill of Rights, and of course, attack businesses, the employers, the people who actually move our economy forward. But of course, we do have some liberty leaders. We have some great legislators that they're all Republicans down at the state capitol fighting for us. And I wanted to share some of their testimony, some of their speeches from the well, and I also wanted to highlight some of the bills that were discussed at this legislative session, the special legislative session. So, the first bill that was discussed on the House floor this special session was House Bill 1001, the Qualified Business Income Deduction Add Back. So, of course, they're not interested in cutting spending. The Democratic majority is not interested at all in cutting spending. Instead, we have legislators like Representative Emily Sirota, Senator Nick Henriksen, and Senator Lisa Cutter who are trying to go after businesses, business owners, and people who make some good money. So, this bill here permanently extends the requirement for certain taxpayers to add back their federal qualified business income deduction when calculating their Colorado taxable income starting with tax year 2026. So you can see here what this bill does. It continues this tax add back, continuing to tax businesses and business owners here in Colorado with generating revenue of $46 million this current year, $95 million next year. My goodness, $100 million the year after that. Lots and lots of money coming in. So, under current law, certain taxpayers are required to add back their federal qualified business income deduction when calculating their Colorado taxable income for business years 21 through 2025. The add back applies for taxpayers filing singly with adjusted gross income over $500,000 and taxpayers filing jointly with adjusted gross income over $1 million. The bill extends the tax back requirement indefinitely, starting with tax year 2026. So, of course, these are businesses, these are LLCs, these are people who employ people in our employ Coloradans in our economy. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. And they're out there, of course, getting more and more taxes, more and more fees, more and more restrictions on what they do to operate. And so, of course, that's the piggy bank, right? Small business owners. And really, when you think $1 million sounds like a lot, $500,000 sounds like a lot. But if you're running a business that employs people, you have to be making that kind of money. You have to be bringing in that kind of money as a business, or else you're probably not going to succeed. But of course, the Democrats are making it harder for these businesses by making sure they're getting every penny they can from them through taxes. So, wanted to share Representative Scott Bottoms, his impassioned floor speech regarding this bill and kind of the special session in general. So let's go ahead and tune in.
Thank you, Chair. Here we go again, same old Democrat story. It's somebody else's fault. When we came into session last year, $1.2 billion in the hole. Was that Trump's fault? No, that's 10 years of doing what we do in this building. Hurting the taxpayer, going after them, more taxes, more crazy spending. You can use Trump for the last 30 days to blame everything on the last 10 years of complete fiscal irresponsibility out of this House. But I'm not going to sit here and believe the lie. This is literally the fault of this side. We have voted over and over. We tried to cut $1 billion in the spring. $1 billion. The Democrats said, no, we will not allow that. We're going to continue to raise taxes. We're going to continue to raise fees. How dare you blame this on President Trump? How dare you blame the fiscal irresponsibility in this room on something that happened over the last 10 years, and you're blaming it on Trump right now? This is the epitome of not taking responsibility. This is the epitome of irresponsibility out of this building. We were $1.2 billion in the hole at the beginning of this year. As soon as we supposedly passed the budget, as soon as we supposedly cut $1.2 billion, we find out 30 days later, 35 days later, before Trump did anything, that we were already another $880 million in the hole. Why? Because of Democrats in the state of Colorado, because of Democrats in this room, not because of one Republican. We voted unanimously against these things over and over.
Representative Bottoms, I'm going to interrupt you. Back to the bill, which is in relation to qualified business income, please.
Respectfully, Chair, I am addressing what the representative got up here and said, and I will not let that lie stand. Thank you. We are dealing with the Democrat irresponsibility in this House. I am not going to sit here and let these things be said. We have been begging. I've been in this House for 3 years. We have been begging, please stop the spending. Please stop raising fees. Please stop hurting the taxpayer. But instead, we have the King's Weekend. The King has called us to this court. The King has subjected all of us to this. And I'm a citizen. I'm not a subject. And this citizen says, not now, not ever. The sycophants can go along with whatever the King says. But I am a no Kings Colorado person. And I'm not going to let it happen. This is not the fault of Trump. This is not the fault of H.R. 1. All of this stuff existed before then, so stop saying it. This is not the fault of H.R. 1. We are in this debt because of Democrats in this House right here and Democrats in the Senate right over there. So stop it. I vote no on all of this insane, egregious attack on the people of Colorado. Stop it now.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, that was a great speech from Representative Scott Bottoms, definitely sticking it to him. So the next bill, that bill did pass, as you can imagine. That's one of the bills, the signature bills of the special session that the Democrats are ramming through. Another bill, next bill up, I want to talk to you about is House Bill 1002, the corporate income tax foreign jurisdictions. So, of course, they talk about loopholes, they talk about tax havens, they talk about this, and this. This is another bill, another way for them to raise revenue. So, again, folks, they're not interested in cutting spending whatsoever. They're interested in going after corporations, businesses, trying to get a little bit more money coming into state coffers so they could fulfill their obligations to their patrons. So, here's the fiscal note. That's always got some good information. Overview. The bill creates a state corporate taxable income addition for federal foreign-derived eligible income deductions, expands a state subtraction from corporate income, adds countries to the list of specified foreign jurisdictions presumed to be used for tax avoidance, and allows state discretion to be used in undermining foreign tax avoidance. Wow. So, folks, this is exactly what the Democrats, what these authoritarians in our legislature want to do, is steal every penny they can from hardworking Coloradans, from businesses. And it's projected to bring in $35 million in the current year, $72 million next year, $72 million after that. So going after these tax havens, going after all of this, that's part of this bill. Links, of course, at freestatecolorado.com. I'll link to everything here, but you can definitely check it out. Let's listen to what Representative Ken DeGraff said on this one. He's definitely one of our Liberty leaders, one of our champions down there. So let's check that out here. Here we go.
This whole thing with HR
Representative
1.
DeGraff, 1 second. Members, it's just getting a little loud in the chamber. If we can keep it down, it would be much appreciated. Representative DeGraff.
What he's saying is it's getting loud in here, so take it off the floor. So, we keep talking about this balanced budget that we had. And I think there's a mispronunciation there, because balance sounds like that it was actually in balance, when in fact what we had is a bounced budget. So I think we ought to be honest with the taxpayers that this was a bounced budget from the outset. When it was signed, it was a bounced budget. Practically when we had it, when it was turned over in early June, talking about $700 million. $700 million is a pretty decent share of $1.2 billion. I think it's technically over half. I'm not a mathematical kind of guy. So I think it's over half. Somebody can check me on that. So what we had is a budget that was based on income that we hadn't had. It was based on the assumption that federal funds were coming when we were flagrantly violating, intentionally violating the terms of those federal funds. And then we balanced the budget. Now what could happen is the governor could cut 2% out of every agency and just say, you know what, across the board, 2%, done. Everybody loses 2%. And then we'll see if we can do that. Nope, the government cannot, the state of Colorado cannot stomach cutting costs. The governor could also have vetoed all of those violations of federal funding that were passed so joyfully. Little dance parties held down here over violations of federal funding. could have vetoed all of those, knowing that this would happen. Again, when the outcome is obvious, the intent is inferred. The inference here is that another special session, because the budget was bounced. It's like some inflatable fiscal funhouse that we have here. It is not real. It was bounced and it was violated before it was started. Now we're looking at this 72.2 million projected, 65.1 million. It's amazing to me that the tax experts in this room can go through and they can find money to extract out of all these little places, but cannot find a place to cut the budget, the grift and fraud that is fraught in the budget. It's full of it. The people of Colorado deserve a zero-based budget where we go through yearly, or at least regularly, and evaluate all of the stuff that has gotten tucked away in this very complex tax code, because these tax shelters live in the complexity of tax code, and complexity is what this does. Now we're not going to have, and I'm not for these places sheltering taxes, or these tax shelters and all this stuff, but what makes those places tax shelters is the complexity in the tax code. Now we have word that at the federal level, they're dealing with this, and now we're going to do something on our own here that we don't know how it's going to deal with the federal side. We don't know how it's going to deal, but I'm going to touch on something my colleague from Grand Junction brought up, and that is this very troubling term right here of, well, guilty until proven innocent, and then still guilty. This bill permits the executive director, so who is this? That's the executive director. I'm guessing that's somebody in the executive branch. Without proof from the C corporation to use discretion to determine that a C corporation is not incorporated in a foreign jurisdiction for the purpose of tax avoidance, the bill adds Hong Kong, Ireland, right, Republic of Ireland, Liechtenstein, all these. And what is their issue? What is the issue of what have they done? What have they done to bring all of these corporations to their shores? What have they done? You know what they did? They lowered their tax rate. That's all they did. They lowered their tax rate, and that makes businesses want to be there. So a country, this criminal organization known as the Republic of Ireland, what they've done is they've lowered their corporate tax rate. And instead of taking a lot of a little, they take a little of a lot. And that's what encourages. So we could take the lead from them, and we could say, hey, you know what? If we just lower some of these taxes, if we lower these tax rates and we encourage growth and we encourage activity, instead of cutting off the head of the golden goose, we nurture it, we feed it, we give it a good place to live. Instead of cutting off the head of the golden goose, we could keep it around for a little while. But maybe the rate of return is just a little too slow. So what the problem here is still spending. The problem here is still spending. And spendthrifts is a really apt term. It's about somebody who spends extravagantly, and that a person who spends money in an extravagant, irresponsible way. And that is just such a much better term for the government of Colorado than drunken sailor. So I like the term spendthrifts. I think drunken sailor is a little bit more apt, or a little bit more colorful, but spendthrift sounds a little more diplomatic. But this was not a balanced budget. This was bounced from the onset. And what we're doing, and here's the problem with this. Without proof from the C corporation, use discretion to determine that a C corporation is not incorporated in a foreign jurisdiction for the purpose of tax avoidance. But here's the problem. Corporate personhood or judicial personality has it where it is the concept where the corporate person or the judicial personality has at least some of the rights and responsibilities enjoyed by natural persons. Now in the United States, except for some kangaroo courts in like Mesa County, people have rights. And those rights are not to be deprived of property or liberty without due process. So we're going to give some executive director. We don't even know who this executive director is. We don't know what the qualifications are. You have to vote for this bill to find out what's in it. Do we know what the second and third order effects of this bill are? We don't even know what the first order effects of this bill are. Do we have a matrix? Has there been a matrix presented here as to how this all goes together? Like why these corporations? I mean, there's hundreds of companies across the globe. Why I mean, I get it. These are the ones that the bill sponsors have determined to be the most egregious, but they're certainly not the only ones. And when you put pressure on these, they'll just, if they're incorporated in those countries for the purpose of tax evasion, what are they going to do? They're just going to move to some other place. They're not going to go, you got me. I'm going to give you all my money now. They're not going to do that. They're just going to go to some other country that's not on this list that gives them a marginal rate of return. And for everybody who's thinking, it's like, oh, here's a neat thing, $65 million worth of increased TABOR refunds. Wow, that'd be a great thing. Except when you go back to the last special session and you look at the many, many bills violating that, taking that money and then just giving it to some other organization, creating a progressive tax code according to the Marxist agenda. But that $65 million is already slated for squandering. It's not going to come in. These companies are just going to go someplace else. So this is not, this is putting some emotional meat out there, trying to, it's not even meat. Meat has substance. This is some ridiculous thing that's like printed meat that, like Bill Gates is putting together. This is no substance. This is artificial. This is disgusting. This is a pretense of understanding, of two individuals understanding the complexities of international code and treaty.
I think Representative DeGraff brought up some great points there, and of course, always with a sense of humor and some style. But good stuff. The Democrats are figuring out ways to nickel and dime corporations, going after them in different places. And yeah, it's really not about reducing revenue, as he said. So, of course, that bill passed. HB 1002 is on its way to becoming law. Of course, we're going to check out the next one here. Let's see. All right, so the third bill that has passed the state legislature for the special session is the insurance premium tax rate for home offices. That's House Bill 1003. Let's take a look at the fiscal note. We have it from Yaver Marbury, Andrew Bosnecker, Mike Weissman, Julie Gonzalez. Definitely some of the worst legislators we have. Totally anti-business, anti-taxpayer. They want to take all our money. Let's see what they're doing here. So the fiscal note shows that this bill 1003, beginning in calendar year 2026, repeals the reduced insurance premium tax rate for insurance companies that qualify as having a regional home office in Colorado. So that's right, they're going to bring in more money, this time repealing this tax break for insurance companies. So $44 million this year, $91 million next year, and $97 million the year after that. Wow. So, I don't really necessarily like tax breaks, this idea that they're trying to reward certain businesses at the expense of others, potentially, right? But at the same time, it is a tax increase, and I totally oppose any type of tax increase. And this just is going to be another way for insurers to make a choice to leave Colorado, right? Because now all of a sudden their taxes are going up. When you're taking another $100 million out of the economy and it's coming from insurance companies, I mean, insurance is already expensive enough, folks. So let's see what Representative Brandy Bradley had to say about this bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm out of practice.
You did great.
Thank you. Okay, if we're going to keep bashing H.R. 1, we're going to talk about H.R. 1. I am so tired of coming up to the well and saying it. Colorado's $1.2 billion deficit is from excessive state spending growth under Democratic control, which is amplifying the state's budget impact. Let's go over the numbers again, because maybe if I say it enough, we'll remember them. State government spending has grown from $32.2 billion in fiscal year 2020-2021 to $46.5 billion in fiscal year 2025 to 2026. That is even a significant increase even before accounting for HR's impacts. We're not even accounting for that. Healthcare spending has increased 367% over the last 16 years. General fund spending rose 6.5% in fiscal year 2024 over the prior year, reaching $16 billion, which was fault by the Republican Party. We can't keep blaming this on HR 1. I think if you guys post enough social media posts that you're gonna believe it, or make the people of Colorado believe it. They're not believing it. Keep posting. It's good comedic relief for all of us. Thank you for that. It makes me wanna laugh. We appreciate it. What this bill will do, and what they're not gonna tell you it's gonna do, is what all of these bills do. And I think what the prime sponsor just said, I mean, I like the bridge joke. I'm not gonna deny that. The bridge joke was good. Every dollar we waste on this tax credit, is that how you feel? Every dollar we waste on this tax credit? Ask small businesses how they feel about that. Ask the people of Colorado every time their insurance premium goes up, how they feel about that. But that's how you feel every dollar we waste on this tax credit. It's like you're not reading the room. Are you door knocking? Are you holding town halls? Do people in Denver, can they afford to live in this state? Because the people in my district can't. And they would be irate if their representative came up here and said, every dollar we waste on this tax credit. So let me tell you what this bill actually does, because they can put a shiny little bow on it and wrap it with some pretty paper. But let's talk about the realistic things that this bill does. First, this bill is going to increase costs for home-based businesses, higher insurance premiums. If the tax expenditure on home office insurance premiums is removed, businesses will see higher premiums because they will no longer benefit from the tax relief or exemption. And guess what? The big, awesome insurance companies aren't going to say, you know what, let's take that on ourselves. No, they're going to pass it on to small businesses, and then what are small businesses going to do? They're going to pass it on to you, the consumers. It's redundant. It keeps happening. Potential for reduced profitability. Yeah. With increased costs from home insurance office, some businesses will find their overall profit margins shrinking. This is especially true for solo entrepreneurs, freelancers, or small businesses that rely on home offices. We keep talking about oligarchs and corporations. The small people are going to face the consequences. In many cases, businesses will choose to reduce their coverage or go without certain types of insurance to save on costs. That's what we're having to do in this state. Businesses will relocate or restructure. Businesses are hightailing it out of our state. Again, I feel like Wyoming is behind some of these bills. Eggs, fireworks, this. I mean, is Wyoming, are you guys responsible for this? Because our small businesses are leaving the state of Colorado. Disincentivized for home-based entrepreneurs. So startups, solopreneurs, home offices are often an affordable and attractive option. People don't want to go in. They want to have a home office. Higher insurance costs from the repeal of the tax expenditure could discourage individuals from starting businesses from home or increase the financial burden for those already doing so. Entrepreneurs might be forced to reevaluate whether the savings and overhead outweigh the higher insurance premiums, leading them to reconsider how they structure their businesses. Again, we're the nanny state. God, we have to nanny everyone. We got to nanny whether you get a home office now. There's a lot of people that don't want to be nannied. We can wipe our own bodies. For goodness sake. Financial burden on small businesses. Many small businesses are already navigating challenges related to cash flow, profitability, and operating costs. A high premium tax could be particularly burdensome for businesses that are already struggling to break even or scale. So in summary, you're going to have higher insurance premiums, reduced profitability, de-incentivized startups, possible business relocation, potential rise in consumer prices, increased administrative burden, and a potential decline in remote work adoption. And I would go on, but guess what? We've been Rule 14 again. So sorry, constituents, I only get 5 minutes to talk to you because we have a time limit, like bad little children. Vote no on this bill.
So that's another one of the bills that the Democrats are pushing through the state legislature. So those are the first three bills I wanted to cover today, just kind of give you an update here of what the Democrats have planned, what they're pushing. And really, that's what we're seeing. Ways for them to collect more revenue, take more money out of the private economy, the private sector, and feed it to the government. Government has grown substantially, as a lot of the legislators have mentioned. It is out of control. They want more money. But I'll be back with you again soon to talk about some of the other bills that they're pushing through. But those are the first three bills that are making it out of the special session this year. So talk to you later.